High-rise hotel fires have been claiming lives at an alarming rate ever since the high-rise became a part of the skyline. In November 1980, 84 died in a fire at MGM Grand in Las Vegas. On December 1980, 26 were killed in a blaze at Stouffer's Inn in White Plains, New York. February of 1981, 8 occupants of the Las Vegas Hilton died by fire. I'm Captain Ed Flynn. Tonight, Chapter 11, Get Out Alive, is a special presentation courtesy of the Hartford Insurance Group and will be shown uninterrupted. The dramatic scenes and information can help save your life when no one else can.
Fire is an old enemy. It challenges every defense, it exploits every weakness, it takes no prisoners. In a high-rise, fire can be the stuff nightmares are made of. Feeding on confusion and human error, it takes many of its victims from among the unprepared and the unwary.
Where are you folks from?
Princeton, New Jersey.
Princeton, New Jersey. God, I hope my mother knows we're okay. She's got my baby. I'm gonna go home to my baby.
Once I come down the stairs,
Right over there, they can't get out of there. They need a fireman to go into the stairs. There's a whole bunch of they're following me down the stairs.
They've come from
They're only about 20 or 30 feet away.
Despite the efforts of firefighters and despite the hotel's safety systems, survival often comes down to the actions of each individual. Those who understand what they're up against and how to cope with it are those who stand the best chance to get out alive.
I had given up because we were at a point where the door was getting warmer, the steel frame around the front door was getting hot, the bathroom wall behind the commode, which also backed up to the hallway, was getting warm, the lights were out, we lost contact with any outside, television, radio. I looked out the window and down, there was fire coming out, you could see flames out of the casino roof, which was a one-story building that went out towards the rear. Out in the hallway, the smoke was just thicker than ever, and it just appeared to me that this was it. And our thoughts were, what are our 2 kids, 13 and 11, going to do? Who's going to raise them?
I remember the next day thinking that if I had not known where I was and how far I had to go, there's a possibility I might have been tempted to just give up. And
that hallway that I crawled down is probably 3,000 lifetimes. 3,000, at least that many. And just, it was like everything was running in still life because I would run into a door, I'd run into the wall where the doors were set in, recessed, and I was hurting,
I turned around and I didn't expect to see anything because of the thick black smoke, but I could see fire burning away at the door, all the way around the edges and the frame, and even through the smoke. I could see that happening, and flames shooting, especially at the top, they were shooting straight through within a very short period of time. I did see these flames at that point. was the first time I felt really very frightened, panicked. You know, the idea of burning to death is just incredibly terrifying.
Thoughts of dying are not unusual to those trapped inside a burning high-rise. It is a modern version of hell itself, with one very important difference. It's a hell you can get out of alive. Maybe not easily, maybe not without some moments of desperation, but it can be done. Firemen, after all, go into these towering infernos while everyone else is getting out. They can do it because they're prepared. Your odds are better if you're prepared, if you know what you're facing and how to deal with it. Few buildings contain more flammable materials than a high-rise, laced with miles and miles of plastic-covered wiring and tons of furniture, wall coverings, drapery and carpeting. Even a high-rise constructed of non-combustible materials can be severely damaged by its combustible contents. A fire can start any time, anywhere. In the restaurant kitchen, in electrical equipment and wiring, the laundry, on any floor, in any room. It may smolder undetected for hours, or it may erupt immediately. Flames consuming everything that burns can spread in any direction. Serious fires generate temperatures intense enough to explode windows, melt window frames, and buckle steel beams. Any structural damage opens new avenues for the flames. They may leap up the outside, climbing a ladder of smashed windows, or move through gaps in the flooring. Gases can build in the spaces above a suspended ceiling and explode in a tremendous fireball. But flames are just part of the story. Hot, black smoke laden with particles and deadly gases is the real killer. 3/4 of all who die in fires are victims of smoke and gases. Differences between outside and inside temperatures and air pressure can move smoke anywhere in the building. It can go up, it can go down. It can turn an elevator shaft into a smokestack, or it can settle anywhere in the building, in thick layers several stories deep. Smoke also circulates through the building's network of heating and air conditioning ducts and electrical raceways, pouring into corridors and rooms. For people inside who may never even see the fire itself, the effect can be devastating.
When I saw the smoke, pouring out of the heating air conditioning vent in the wall, I said to my husband, I sat up in bed and I said to my husband, Dick, I said, you better hurry and get up, because I said, there's smoke pouring out of the air conditioning heating vent. I said, my God, this place is on fire.
I heard some sounds coming out of the hallway, and it sounded to me like it was glass cracking and breaking, like from heat, not from impact. And I went to the door of my room and felt the door to see if it were hot, just in case, just to be on the safe side. And it was cool, and the doorknob was cool, so I opened it, because I wanted just to make sure that it was okay. I couldn't believe it. It was very unreal. I opened it, and it was just, it was like opening a door into an inferno. It was, the flames were covered from the top of the door to the bottom. It was just a complete sheet of flames. And very silent. It was very quiet, but there was no heat, but it was you could just feel the energy of the thing.
A major high-rise hotel is massive. It may house 1,000 occupants or more, including hotel staff. Far too many for firefighters to reach and quickly evacuate. Often, a fire will be contained by the hotel's defense systems or be extinguished by firemen before it can get out of hand. But if it does break loose, everyone trapped inside is thrown back on his own resources. Remember, in a hotel, fire can catch you while you're sleeping or after a long trip when you're tired and not alert. You must begin to prepare to get out before a fire ever starts. When you check into your room while the bellman is still there, try the lock on your door to be sure you can operate it. Double safety locks can sometimes be very tricky, especially in a dark, smoke-filled room. Find out where the fire exits are. If there's a floor diagram in your room, study it. But don't rely on general directions. Go to each exit on your floor. You are extremely vulnerable in the corridor. There is no protection here at all. You may be smothered by smoke so thick you won't even be able to see the exit signs. Since you must get out of the hallway fast, you should know exactly where the exits are. Count the number of doors between your room and each exit. Memorize any turns in the hallway. Note recesses or obstructions like vending machines. You should know how this works. Fire alarms are usually simple to operate, but you can't afford to fumble with it during a fire. This fire hose and extinguisher are for your use. But remember, your job is to get out alive. In a fire, flight is often better than fight. Make sure your exit door's open. Sometimes there are two. If it's locked or blocked, tell the hotel and check on it later to see if they've attended to it. If the stairway is full of smoke, stay out of it. Try to get to your alternate exit or return to your room. You may face a critical point in your escape right here. For security reasons, many stairwell exit doors close and lock behind you. You can't get back through here or a door on another floor. What will you do? As a rule, close all doors behind you to keep back smoke and flames. But if you close this one, you cut off an escape option. On the other hand, if you leave this open, you could endanger yourself and others in the stairwell. To cover both possibilities, bring something with you from your room to prop open the door, or use something on your person. Of course, if there is re-entry, there is no question. Close the door. Going down is usually better than going up. But as you descend, if you hit a layer of smoke, don't try to go through it. Even if you have a wet towel over your mouth, you won't make it. We have a natural fear of fire, but not smoke. Believe me, you have never, ever encountered smoke like this.
Forget it. You can't see through it because this particular smoke, your eyes burn from it. You can't breathe. You're down on the floor, and all you see is varying degrees of darkness.
That's as close to hell as I ever want to come, that smoke. It's just as close as I ever want to come.
When I opened the front door, the hallway was just a thick black smoke, and it smelled awful. And it just poured right in the front door. It was so thick you couldn't even see the carpeting when you looked down.
Any single thing that's burning, take wood for example, produces perhaps 100 different products in the smoke. Fires are almost never thoughtful enough to have only one thing burning. They almost always involve a number of things. If it involves 10 things burning, then there's on it 1,000 different components conceivably in the smoke.
Anytime you go into the black hole of smoke, you become a little less sure of yourself. Now, our ability to deal with that smoke is enhanced greatly through training and through the apparatus we wear. But it's not a pleasant experience. It's something that you don't want to breathe in, and it's dark, disorientation. It's not a welcome thing.
About the fourth or fifth time that I was checking the hallway to see if I could see fire, and Joanne was right with me, we heard somebody sound like gasping for breath, and also this fellow said, "Help me, help me," and opened the door full wide, and his hand came out of the smoke, and I pulled him in, and he said, "There's a couple right behind us. They were in their night clothes, and they went outside their door and got locked out."
Always, always carry your key with you. If your exits are blocked and you're forced back to your room, only this will get you inside, where your chances of surviving are immeasurably better than in an unprotected hallway. You may be staying in a combustible hotel. It's usually an older building, 5 stories or less, with wooden floors. If a fire starts, get out immediately. No part of the building is safe. In a modern high-rise, though, you probably have time. This is where most people are when they learn there's a fire. If it's right in your room, get out fast. Close the doors and sound the alarm. But if the fire is elsewhere in the building, your room offers you a good deal of protection. In fact, The elderly and handicapped may fare better here than trying to get down or up a crowded stairwell. Keep in mind that all fires are alike, yet each one is different. Judgment, informed judgment, is critical. Conditions constantly change. An opening is there, then it's gone, perhaps forever. Each person moves through windows of time that open and close on opportunities with each tick of the clock. Reaction based on preparation is vital.
I had never bothered to go through the thought process of deciding what it is you need to do if you were trapped in your room, because the idea was always, don't let that happen, preventative. So I didn't have any particular expectations. I never expected that to happen. I thought that was the worst possible thing. In fact, though, being in that room being trapped in that room was probably a better alternative than being out in the hallway. I think I probably would have been overcome. I was surprised to have been able to last that long under those circumstances. Your room is not necessarily the worst place to be. You know, you have more time than you think you do to be rescued.
You're in your room. You hear commotion in the hallway, sirens, an alarm, perhaps an explosion or smell smoke. Don't dash for the door. Grab your key. Make a habit of putting it in the same place near your bed where you can get it right away. If there's smoke in your room, stay low where the air is better. Never open a door without first checking for heat. Feel the door frame. Not all doors transmit heat well, but metal door frames do. If it's hot, keep the door closed. If it's cool, open the door cautiously, ready to slam it shut if smoke pours in. If the corridor is relatively clear, head directly for your exit. Never use an elevator.
The elevator went down one floor into hell. The doors opened, and it was just black smoke from floor to ceiling, just pouring in. It just went black immediately. I dropped my briefcase and dropped to my hands and knees immediately, and unfortunately, the other people kept standing up. And I thought, well, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die trying, because I believe that very firmly. You can't give up. And I felt to see if because I wasn't sure even the elevator was on the level of the floor. I wasn't sure the floor was burned away or what. I felt out, and the floor was there. And I started crawling as fast as I could, and I hadn't crawled over about 10 feet when I heard one man say, "Oh, my God," and fall. And I heard him hit the elevator because it was an echoing sound. And they found his body half in, half out of the elevator.
The principal worry about taking an elevator is you're likely to find yourself in an elevator that opens on the fire floor, because either the fire itself has acted on the controls to call it there, or somebody who was on the fire floor punched the button to get the elevator to come.
If your exits are blocked and you're forced back to your room, or you choose to stay in your room, take immediate steps to protect yourself. Usually, flames will not be your first or even main threat. Smoke will. It's deadly, and it's relentless, and it will try to get into your room any way it can. Under, around, and over your door, through vents in your room, even under the bathroom sink where the pipes go into the wall. If it's coming up the side of the building and you break your window, it will roll in dense, choking clouds. If the air outside is clear of smoke, open your window. But don't break it unless your room is completely invaded with smoke. Seal off everything. This could save your life. Duct tape. Available and cheap in any hardware store. Carry it in your suitcase just as surely as you'd carry a toothbrush. You can tear it off to any lengths to tape over doors, over vents, around bathroom sink pipes. If you don't have tape, then stuff wet towels or bedding or clothing around the door. The vents may be harder to do, but you must try. Also, shut off the air conditioning and heating units. Often they just circulate more smoke. Once you've sealed your room, fill the bathtub even to overflowing, and check the walls and door frame. If they're getting hotter, the flames are probably getting closer. Use your wastebasket to splash down everything with water from the tub, especially the door and the carpeting at the threshold. And don't panic. You have more going for you than you may think. In a modern hotel, The walls can withstand a raging fire in an adjoining suite for at least an hour. Closed doors also hold up for extended periods. So keep your wits. Keep fighting. Every minute you win for yourself improves your chance for survival.
The area where they're going to break down, the integrity of that room is going to break down first is from the outside. If you have a fire below you and it laps up the windows, there's a definite chance that it's going to break into that building. But coming from the hallway in, most buildings have fire-rated doors. If you keep that door closed and sealed, your chances are very good.
Unless you talk yourself into panicking, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. Obviously, I was able to survive in my room for an hour and 45 minutes, although my door was on fire the entire time. I had a lot more time than I thought I would have. And I can understand how somebody can talk themselves into panicking and jumping long before they have to. You know, I hope people can remember that, in my case anyway, I was able to survive a very long time.
At no time did we try to even go out of our hotel room because the smoke was so bad that I just knew that there was no way to survive in that hallway. I was checking the ceiling to see if there was heat, if it was concentrated heat on the ceiling, to see if there was fire above us, checking the floor, the carpeting, the bathroom. We also had smoke coming out of the bathroom vent. I was unable to stop that. I tried to get the vent off to stuff something in there, and finally I just gave up and closed the bathroom door, stuck a wet blanket around that. I also pulled a sheet off the bed and opened the front door and put the sheet along the side of the door there, hung it over the top.
When the firemen dragged me out of that room, they literally had to drag me because I wasn't able to stand on my feet. I was very weak from the smoke, and they wanted to get me out quickly. This fire was still going on a little bit. It was just a shell. There was nothing left. It was right down to the drywall, and there was a lot of debris, and there were burning embers everywhere. In fact, my shoes burnt on the way out.
I'm amazed at myself that both Joanne and I were calm in that room for 2.5 hours. I really thought that we might have panicked more, but fortunately, we didn't.
What if, however, you leave your room, get to the stairwell, and find your way down blocked? You also discover you can't return to your room. Your only option is up. Stay to the right of the stairwell to avoid blocking firemen who may be trying to get to the fire floor. Check other corridors as you go. One may be clear enough to enable you to cross over to a stairwell free of smoke in another part of the building. But if this is also impossible, continue up to the roof. Some have advised that you keep this door open to ventilate the building. But if there's smoke in the stairwell, the draw from this door will turn it into a chimney of hot smoke and gases, threatening everyone in the shaft. If there are no firemen, stay calm. If you can, try to help others who may be injured, exhausted, overcome with smoke, panicky. If firemen are present, organizing a helicopter evacuation, follow their directions with confidence. They're well-trained and experienced. Despite what you may think, this is not an easy procedure for you or the pilot.
Landing on rooftops is a technique all of its own, just in a normal situation. Then if you add smoke, fire, heat, flame, and all the traumatic entities in with it, then you have another problem. People want to get off that building. Their lives are in danger. Helicopters can only carry so much. If you've got 100 people on there and you evacuate all 100 of them, now you've said and you've done something. But if you go in there and all 100 of them jump on a helicopter that's only capable of carrying 10 of them, now you've lost all 100 of them, plus you've lost the crew also.
I was holding as many people back as I could. Once he was able to sit down, they would all break, and I'd have to break with them and try and beat them to the helicopter. There was no time to convince them. A lot of them were screaming and yelling. It didn't have anything to do with what sex they were. Men would fight women for a seat. The people were coming up with towels, wet towels, which were enabling them to breathe with. And they would just drop the towels, which caused another problem for me. After I would fight them and keep them back and load the helicopter, I'd have to make sure the towels were picked up off the floor or the roof in order to allow the helicopter to take off without having the towels fly up in the rotor system. People began bringing up luggage. I didn't allow anyone to take anything on board at all. I had to fight people to get their luggage away from them. And about that time, the second helicopter arrived. And it arrived at a moment that I was busy loading Harry. And by the time I got Harry loaded, got the people back, and Harry lifted off, I looked over, and they were beginning to actually push the Fly for Life helicopter backwards, it appeared to be, towards the edge of the roof.
If you do get that panic situation and you lose the helicopter, you're going to lose more people, and you haven't accomplished a thing. I'm very anti-feelings on losing people trying to save people.
Remember these basic points about a high-rise fire. You can encounter smoke anywhere in the building. Fear it. It will kill. Never open a door without first checking it for heat. Your room is often the safest place to be if you've sealed it against smoke. One final thought. There really is no all clear for you until you're out of the building. You probably won't even know when the fire is out, but even after it is, smoke remains deadly. So until help arrives, no matter how long you've been at it, keep fighting. Help will arrive. In a large hotel, it takes firemen a long time to search for survivors, but they do check everywhere. Every single room, even every single closet. In this country, every year, there are 5,000 hotel fires and thousands of people who are plunged into an awful nightmare. Those who are prepared for it live to dream other dreams. They're the ones who get out alive.
The important point to remember is that smoke, no matter from what source, is lethal. It is what kills people in virtually all fires.
The smoke was so thick that it wasn't just a smoke. It had soot in it or something that would get in your mouth. People, their mouths were just black on the insides.
Yeah, there's definite confusion because you're confused about whether or not you're doing the right thing.
I just couldn't believe that it was really that bad. And I hesitated for just momentarily and said, well, you know, I'm probably going to die, you know.
My wife has a lot of faith, and she kept saying, we are going to get out of here, and kept telling them that. And they said, don't you believe it? We're never going to get out of here. And in the meantime, I'm running around checking everything, and I think that's what kept me going, is having something to do.
I'll never forget that. Never. I'm a retired Air Force officer. Spent almost 4 years in East Germany in an intelligence assignment. And I've been shot at a number of times. And I was a hell of a lot more frightened in that fire than I had been with a guy standing there with a couple of machine guns ready to blow my head off.
For a free brochure on hotel fire survival, send a business-size, self-addressed stamped envelope to Get Out Alive, the Hartford Insurance Group, Hartford, Connecticut 06115.